Touch 106.1 FM. Go ahead, caller.
Good morning, brother Mayor Charles Truefighter.
Good morning, Terrence. How you doing?
I'm blessed. You know, on TV, I'm going to say our brother won, Barack, our president, but in our community, Mitt Romney won. And the reason why I say that is because of what actions are we doing to take to make sure that our brother gets back in office.
Good question.
You know, that's the thing that we have to realize. You know, I mean, we can sit there and watch the TV and say, oh, yeah, our brother won. That doesn't mean nothing if we are sitting at home doing nothing and just watching other people fight for the cause. You know, and it's sad. It's truly sad to hear Miss Flint and Miss Flint's voice of all the hard work that she's doing to help other people get jobs. That we don't have the numbers, the numbers that we need, that we should have out at the finance building. It's a shame that we have our heart and soul on almost every block in our community, and near congregation has come out to support. It's a shame that we have the NAACP who's not out here with them fighting.
Good question. And I know that I heard the president of the branch, Boston branch, Michael Curry, when he was talking with Jamarhl about, certain issues they don't get involved in because it's not local, but this is a local issue.
This is local. This is a local issue. You know, we're out here, even for the listener audience, Touch 016 gives you your voice so you can call up and take as much time as you want to get what's on your chest off about what's wrong with our community.
Terrence, let me interject here that not only the churches, what about the organizations that are in our community? What about the fraternities that are in our communities, the sororities that are in our communities, these clubs and these organizations that are in our community? Where are they?
Yeah, and that's the whole thing, Brother Charles. Where are they? You know what I mean? We keep saying, we are our brother's keeper. It takes a village to raise a child. We can quote all these, negro spiritual, quotes, but we ain't putting them into action.
All right, T.
I have two jobs. I had three. I had to get rid of one so I could spend time with my kids. But I got two jobs, and I'm out here with Miss Flint fighting for people who don't have jobs.
Right on. Well, that's right. You're either part of the solution or part of the problem. T, I have to get to the next two callers, and then I have to get to my in-studio guests.
Yes, sir.
All right.
Have a blessed day. Love you always, and keep up the fight.
Yes, sir. Thank you. 106.1 FM. Last call. Go ahead, caller.
Hey, peace, Brother Charles. This is Salih.
Salih, my brother from another mother. Big brother almighty.
Yes, sir. How you doing, brother?
Super fantastic. Great question you asked Joe Madison also.
Oh, yes, sir. I'll be in touch with Mr. Madison soon. Sent him an email, and I'll let him know about some of the other things we're doing in Boston. Hopefully he can make a return visit. I think it's a good question you asking, Brother Charles, and I think I have a different vantage point on who won the debate last night. I think the clear winner of the debate last night was the state of Israel, and how both candidates, I was thinking that they were going to bring out candlelights and mandolins due to the pandering, the shameless and gushing posturing that both candidates had over America's commitment to the state of Israel. And people talk about battleground states of Ohio, Florida, New Hampshire. Israel's a true battleground state, if you really look at it, Brother Charles. And I think both candidates showed that yesterday. My question is this. If friendship is a two-way street, people really have to wonder, what does Israel do for America? When we talk about them being America's greatest ally, to the point where the threat of a quote-unquote nuclear Iran just can't happen. And one of the first things that Romney would do is indict Ahmadinejad. I can't remember for what crime in particular, but he wanted to go after the leader of Iran, and just for this trumped up threat. Well, it's not a trumped up threat. I mean, I think Israel has every reason to be cautious of Iran, but it's not for the reasons that I think that definitely not for the reasons that the candidates are professing, and not for the reasons that I think the majority of Americans think. So that's one of the things that I thought I got out of the debate, just the overall staunch commitment that both candidates are making to the state of Israel. And if that being the case, in a friendship, I don't know how many friendships you have, Brother Charles, that are not of mutual benefit, of a symbiotic relationship where you give as well as receive. What does Israel do for America? Or if that's not a viable question, we need to go into the history as in terms of what Israel has done for America that has provoked this, as President Obama put it, this unbreakable bond that America has with Israel.
Thank you, Brother Saleh.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. And
Face of Love 6, Saturday, March 9th, from 1 to 7 p.m., Neo Soul Giants, Kindred the Family Soul, will be performing live at Face of Love 6. So everybody, come on out.
And we want to make sure that they know that Facing Love will be at Hibernian Hall.
Thank you, sir. That's why you're here, Brother Charles. You know, you pick up the pieces. You pick up the pieces. Absolutely. Thank you, Brother Charles.
All right, www.facinglove.com.
Yes,
love you, my brother.
Peace.
All right. The phone lines, okay? Caller, you're live.
Yes, it's Michael Curry, calling from the Boston NAACP.
President of the Boston branch NAACP, Michael Curry. I saw you call me on my cell phone, but I was in an interview right now with, taking phone calls in the interview with Dylan Buston, who's the artistic director of Hibernian Hall. What's on the line? What do we have on the radar, my brother?
Yeah, well, I always get those calls in the morning saying, you need to call Brother Charles to make sure you give an NAACP perspective. So I wanted to get back in and have a quick conversation just to point out where the Boston NAACP has been, and it has been on issues such as the Ferdinand Building.
Okay.
If you'll allow me just a quick second to make a statement.
I don't mind you taking a couple of minutes because Dylan's going to be here for a minute. So, and this is really important. I mean, that's the whole purpose of Touch 106.1 FM is to have a platform so that we can educate our people. Go ahead, Michael.
Excellent. So I think one is very important. I think, and I'm going to ask all your listeners to think about something. Mm-hmm. There are people in our community that are very positional. It's always about what somebody else isn't doing and what they're doing. Mm-hmm. And that's important that you pay attention when people do that. And there's quite a few people who come on your show who are always calling out somebody else for not doing something.
Okay.
They're always sort of promoting what they do.
Okay.
I don't have that model for how we should operate as a black community. I don't think it's productive. Mm-hmm. I don't think it's in the best interest of our community. In fact, I go to many meetings on health disparities, on redistricting, on education equality, on many of the other issues of violence in our community, where I show up as the NAACP, and there's no one else. Some of the folks that are critical on your radio show are not in the room. Right. But I don't then get on the radio and say, where are they? Mm-hmm. The reality is we got a front line of a whole bunch of issues that impact our community. And we don't have enough soldiers to fight on all those front lines.
Right.
And in fact, the NAACP, unlike any other organization, Blackstonian, a host of other organizations, is one organization that is accountable and responsible for being on a lot of different front lines in our community. But we're a membership organization. We're an organization of people made up of like the people who listen to your show, who have to take out a membership, become active, join the movement. We don't have paid staff. We don't have a big building downtown with a whole bunch of paid staff working on all the issues that come before this organization. It's important for your listeners to know that, because I think we get way too much into demonizing, undermining, undercutting our allies, the people who are on other front lines fighting other issues, instead of saying, hey, when you get a chance, I need you over here to help me out. And the reality is, in the Ferdinand building, I remember going back a decade ago as president. I wasn't even president of the NAACP. I was a member. And Leonard Alkins, then president of the NAACP, had me walking the streets with Brother Aku talking about construction sites and the lack of diversity on construction sites. I remember many a conversation with Ron Marlowe when he was in Senator Wilkerson's office about the lack of diversity on those sites and what we could do about them. So it is an issue that the NAACP has been involved in for a long time, and I personally have worked on for a long time. But the reality is the most pressing issue right now before communities of color from a political empowerment standpoint is redistricting. And that has been one that has sort of sucked the air out of the room for a few of us who are activists in the community. But I wholeheartedly support the protest and the work being done by the folks down at the Ferdinand Building, and you, Brother Charles, and the work that you've done to support them. And I talked to some of the organizers about what we could do. I just appointed an economic development chair, a volunteer who has a family, a full-time job, who said, Mike, I want to come on board and work on this issue to support you. He is going to be meeting with the organizers and figuring out what we can do to support their efforts. But I want to caution Brother Charles, what I seem to be what seems to be a growing trend of folks who come on your show, which is it does not serve the black community or communities of color to always try to find a reason to tear down other black leaders. It is becoming a hobby for some. And in fact, if we all got into that game and started criticizing each other for what we do and don't do, without even making a phone call to ask the question, Mike, what are you doing? What's your strategy? What are you working on behind the scenes? That does not serve to the benefit of our community, and it's deeply disturbing. I know that it's historically the case. You always have the Jamarhl Crawfords and other folks who are positional, who always want to tear down and criticize other leaders, and other folks choose not to do that to him. But the reality is, history has proven that does not serve us well. So I ask your listeners to think about that. If you have a question about something the NAACP is doing or not doing, call us. Come down to the office. Offer your help. Offer to get involved. Come to a general membership meeting. But don't play into this politics that happens within our communities that says that, you know what, I don't want to ask questions. I don't want to know the facts. I just want to criticize. I just want to be a Monday morning quarterback who always finds issues with other black leaders without doing my homework. And the reality is, Jamarhl, I think, or someone else made a comment on your show that the NAACP always talks about it can't get involved in state issues, the Boston NAACP.
No. Michael, hold on one moment. Hold on. What happened, Michael? And let me let you know. First of all, it wasn't Jamarhl Crawford. It was one of the people that are down supporting the protest who called in, and he's called in before. He has said, like, where are the politicians? Where are these people? So I guess he's, in his way, this is his way of asking for help. And then what I said is that I remember that when you was talking to Jamarhl Crawford and he brought up an issue, you said something to the fact that the issue that he was bringing up was something that wasn't local. You deal with local issues. Was I correct in stating that?
So, no, you're correct, but my point about Jamarhl is a broader one. I mean,
all right, but let's hold up, Michael, one moment. First of all, Jamarhl didn't call the station.
No. I'm speaking to that point, brother.
Okay, all right, gotcha.
I'm telling you that there's a context to this that predates your comments today on the radio.
Right.
That there's a criticism that Jamal's been levying that predates what you said this morning. So, yes, you are correct. Boston NAACP has jurisdiction over city issues.
Right.
But I think you and I would both agree, Brother Charles, that if I were to list on your show right now all the issues that are crises in communities of color that are killing us early, that we're dying of at disparate rates,
that we're unemployed at 3 times the rate of the average white citizen in the city.
Correct.
That we're getting discriminated and laid off, not hired, not promoted, not paid the same on our jobs. I can go down a list of issues.
Mm-hmm.
And the reality is we don't have enough black folks working in all those areas to fully address all those concerns. But thank God we got a Blackstonian who works on issues. Thank God we got a Nation of Islam, a Touch 106, coalitions across the city. Instead of us finding reasons to say who's not where, let's call people and say, I need your help. Let's call people and say, hey, I want you to work with me to address this issue. Or you know what? I want to also work with you to work on what you're addressing. That's a concern for me. I just think it's,
Michael,
I'm a student of our history.
I will
It does
agree.
not work.
I will agree with you that they should call the NAACP. They should call the Nation of Islam. They should call the organizations. However, I'm going to say this also. Touch 106.1 FM is here as a platform for people to use us to ask for help. And they go over the airwaves and they ask for help. So
I totally agree, Charles. I totally agree. So what you have to understand is what you hear in my voice.
Yes.
Is a little bigger than what came up on the radio this morning, because
Gotcha.
I did receive 3 people who called me and said, Mike, you need to address that because I don't think they know how much work you're doing now.
And that's why
you have an army of volunteers who put in 40 hours a week, volunteer, to try to make a difference for our communities. But yet not everyone, because that's actually not true, a small pocket of folks will always look for a fault, will always look for where you're not, instead of looking for what you're doing and say, hey, Mike, I got this front. I got this issue. Let me know when you can help me out.
And that's
Let me know
why
when we can support the work that you're doing.
And Michael,
it's a little bigger than that conversation, Brother Charles.
And Michael, and that's why we need you on the radio at least once a month to keep us abreast and to educate us. We need the other organizations on Touch 106.1 FM to keep us abreast, because there's no reason why with the state that when it comes to the job policy dealing with construction, there's no reason why with the unemployment rate doubled or tripled, there's no reason why those unemployed brothers and sisters shouldn't be down on that line.
Oh, I totally agree.
And that was one of the issues also. There's no reason why the majority of the people that are down on that picket line are people that have 2 and 3 jobs.
You know, what's interesting, Brother Charles, I think sometimes people want the in-your-face stuff in order to validate that you're doing something.
I know.
Now, the reality is no one's asked, or at least some of the folks that are critical in terms of the NAACP, even though some of these same folks are critical of everybody. Some of these folks don't ask, okay, Michael, what have you and the NAACP done on these issues? What they would know is that I went straight to the top recently and had a sit-down with the mayor of Boston and talked about these issues. And I told him that the Boston NAACP is going back to the community to come up with a plan to address many of these issues, including the absence of people of color on the construction site. Now, some would argue, why would you go to the mayor? Why would you have that conversation directly with him? It is ludicrous to think that you do not go to the powers that be and make a demand.
Well, you go to the head. You would go.
Nothing without a demand, it never will.
Right.
Sometimes the demand is not just a protest, but it's also going to people directly to present options or to make that demand to them correctly, directly. And I think that there's a absence of conversation. And I think, to your point, Brother Charles, we should come on the radio more often. Darnell Williams of the Urban League, I'm sure, is open to being on Touch more often. I think he's been on your show many times. There's a host of organizations, civil rights and other, that are doing great work that we do not have access to the Globe and the Herald to get the stories of the work that we're doing out to you on a daily basis. Touch is one of the avenues. The Bay State Banner is a great avenue. But don't assume that the work's not being done, because I can attest to the fact that I have people giving blood, sweat, and tears to make a difference.
All right, Michael, thank you very much. Any closing remarks?
No, I just want to say, in closing, this was, in my statement, is really just to bring sort of a full perspective to your listeners that I would challenge them Come down to the Boston NAACP in the Mall of Roxbury, take out a membership, come to a meeting, join a committee, become a part of the solution, and not fall prey to people who are backroom critics who always want to say what somebody's not doing. They're positional.
Right.
Join the movement, get a part of it, dictate the direction, move organizations that you care about to the issues that you care about. But don't sit around always, just like the voter, the person who doesn't want to get involved but is critical of elected officials but doesn't vote. We need you to show your vote by becoming active in our many organizations that are working on the front line. That's really what we're asking for, and I appreciate Touch 106 being here and providing a voice and an avenue for us to advocate and for us to reach our community.
Now, Michael, I'm going to have to give you a checkup from the neck up. It's 106.
Thanks, Brother Chuck.
And before you leave, Michael, you still there?
Yeah, I'm still there.
All right, before you leave, what would you say about those that are on the picket line right now?
I said, thank God for folks who take it to the streets. We all have been in those situations. I've been in that place dating back to college where we took it to the streets and we did the protest. The NAACP has done that, both the Boston and the branches throughout the region. And this is an extension of that. This is taking the message directly down to the construction site and letting folks know that any movement to build and to bring jobs into our community, the folks need to look like the communities that they're working in. And it's discouraging. And I go back to Brother Aku, Tito Jackson's father. Many of us walk the streets with him with that hard hat on, and we're educated to the fact that we could change that just by advocacy. And I'm proud to be someone who walked the streets with him and proud to be someone who's conscious of the fact that there's more work to be done. So I applaud the folks that are down there, and I will make it a point that the Boston NAACP joins you in that effort.
Thank you, Michael. I was just handed a note that Jamarhl Crawford's on the other line. If you want, I could put you on hold so that you can listen. You might want to respond. Did you want to hold on?
You know what? The reality is, and I've debated Jamarhl for close to a decade now. Again, how often am I on your show criticizing Jamarhl and his contradictions and his spewing of discontent or dissatisfaction with every other black leader? I don't do that to Jamarhl. I support Blackstonian. I appreciate Blackstonian. I appreciate Jamarhl's work. But I don't believe that what he does is in the best interest of bringing black communities together. He can say whatever he wants when he come on. I'll let him do that.
All right. I love you, Michael.
Love you too, Brother Charles.
All right. It's Touch 106.1 FM, real-time media, all up in your 617-445-1061 is the phone number, and Jamarhl is on line number 3. Let's go to line 3. Jamarhl, are you there?
Yes, sir. Good morning, brother.
Good morning, my brother from another mother.
All right. Well, of course, on this day, I usually wake up and as I'm doing some of my morning work, I turn on Touch on the internet, and of course, this day, the internet feed was not working, and then all of a sudden, my phone starts to ringing. They're talking about you right now on Touch. So I had to go out to my car to hear a little bit. Unfortunately, I missed a lot of it, except for the last part, which Michael Curry just gave, where, all I do is critique all black leaders, and I'm just, what I do does not help out the black community, and so on and so forth. And really, I think that Mike may want to reconsider, because he said he's debated me for 10 years. We've had disagreements for 10 years. We've never had a debate. I would love to have a debate. I'll bring the water, and we should have a conversation, because as he keeps talking about, we should have these conversations, so then let's have the conversation. Now, one of the things that I notice, particularly about Mr. Curry, is that Mr. Curry does one thing that a lot of leaders don't do well, which is take criticism. Now, the criticism can be about the direction you go in, the direction of your organization, and as I called in when he and Yancey was on the phone, my thing was to get off of the personal. Now, personally, Michael and I do not get along the greatest, all right? We're not hanging out at the cookout, and chilling. But he may not even know family. I wish him the best with his kids and his family and his job and all that type of stuff. Wonderful. But when you take the position to be the leadership of the NAACP, you put yourself in a hot seat where people such as myself, who have looked to the NAACP for assistance for over 2 decades and found it lacking in many cases, not just him, but the previous leadership. And many organizations know that when you're doing something, addressing the issue, for me it's mostly around police brutality, criminal justice, the NAACP is often the most difficult to get on board. Why? Maybe that's because of their protocols and, and all the stuff that they have, their bylaws and all this, blah, blah, blah. But I do notice the white organizations don't have that same problem. So there's been times that I've reached out to the NAACP, have gotten no response on the same issue, and then 2 days later, their name is attached to a letter that was sponsored by some of the white organizations, the ACLU, National Lawyers Guild, whatever. So I just think that the NAACP locally here in Boston has always kind of had not done its best in terms of working with grassroots organizations and organizers. Now, let me clarify. The Blackstonian is not an organization. I ain't never made a dime off of it. I am an organizer, period. That's me. I'm an organizer and an activist. So while he says that nothing that I do is for the betterment of the black community, that just confuses me when I have a track record to show what we've done and accomplished. We were on the forefront of the pushback on the 3 strikes issue. And little old me, and those who travel around with little old me, we covered from Boston to Amherst, Worcester, Lynn, New Bedford. So it's just very difficult for me to hear that type of, what I consider to be accusations. And unlike Mr. Curry, we don't have an office. We don't have an army of volunteers who give blood, sweat, and tears, as he keeps saying, which is great. That's great that you got those things. But as the Bible says, to whom much is given, much is required. So the more you have, the more people expect from you. And all I can say is that the NAACP has been on many issues, but they have missed out on some critical ones. I can give an example that just happened in the past couple of weeks. The brother Mark McMullen, who was killed by the police, right, and his family came up here from Connecticut and New York in order to conduct a rally in front of the State House to demand answers. Now, this happened in Roxbury. It began in Roxbury, Blue Hill Avenue, and then it went out of the jurisdiction all the way out into Rockland, where the brother was shot by the police. This man's family asked me specifically, Brother Jamarhl, can you please reach out to the NAACP? I sent several emails. I went there and hand-delivered to the sister who's at the front desk the information. I checked back a couple days later. Did Curry get it? Yep, she said he got it. I sent it to his personal email, and there was a no-show. Worse than a no-show, because I don't know what his schedule is, it was a no response. Not for me. That don't offend me. To the McMullen family. The family of this black man who got killed by the Boston police right here in Roxbury. And oftentimes, I think that Curry uses a little convenient matter of this local versus the regional thing. Oh, it's a statewide issue and blah, blah, blah. So, for instance, that's what he said when it was around this last issue of redistricting. This redistricting is, it's a statewide thing, so, we can't get involved. It's like, or whatever this thing is a statewide thing. We can't get involved. But particularly the local chapter's responsibility and duty, I believe, is to provide information for that constituency that is in your area. So if we have a statewide issue that's affecting everybody in the state, then there should be a forum in Roxbury, there should be a forum in Brockton, and all those chapters, wherever they may be, should do the forums in that area. Now, for me, it's just, I think, you have a guest in your studio, so I want to be respectful of his time as well. So let's table this for another time if Mr. Curry is willing, because I think he likes to give a couple of pot shots and then fall back and, act like he's taking the higher road. That's all fine. I'm down to debate this all day long. Don't have to be personal, but we can just give a couple of straight-up examples. I come with the facts. I'm not coming with nothing personal. The fact that Curry and I don't get along, that's a side issue. I'm talking about the job and working for the community. And I can't be crazy because many people have said this. The difference between me and many people is that many people will talk about you like a dog behind your back and smile in your face. Curry has a lot of those people around him. Smile in his face, great job, Mike. And then they leave and they be like, that guy, I don't know about him. Or the NAACP, I don't know about that. So in the community, there's a large critique of the NAACP. And I think he should embrace that and get in tune with it so that he could fix that and address it. And even if that addressing is just letting people know, look, I'm not Superman. I can't be everywhere. I can't run around the planet 3 times in 5 minutes. So we have to pick and choose. If there's 20 issues, look, these are the 10 we're going to tackle. These other 10 we can't, but we're willing to support you in any way, even if it's that. But when people do not show, do not respond to things that many in the community find critical, and like I said, too, this has been pre-Curry presidency. I've gone through this with at least the last, I say, 3 presidents.
Jamarhl, we're going to have to...
Cameron Payne and so on. So, yeah, let's table it, and let's talk about it another time, if all the parties are willing to participate. I certainly am. But
all right.
I certainly don't like getting, quote-unquote, called out on stuff that everybody knows is not true about me. No different than if somebody came on your radio station and said Jamarhl is an overweight, dark-skinned black man. It just ain't true.
All right, Jamarhl. Thank you. I love you, brother.
Peace. Love you, too.
Thank you for the information. It's Touch 106.1 FM, fabric of the black community, feeling here the difference. Your radio station, your platform for you to voice your opinions, and that's what's been happening. And what what a show! I love this, and I know everybody's like got their ears glued to it, Dylan, which is a good thing. So now they know about my man Bello, who's going to be in town October the 26th, this Friday, for the first appearance in Boston. And we're going to give away a pair of tickets, all right? We're going to give away a pair of tickets. And all you have to do is remember the phrase, the Creole phrase, which is, it's not for us. It's not for us. Li pa pour nous. Li pa pour nous. The first caller that can call up and correctly pronounce the phrase and tell us what the phrase means, you've got a pair of tickets to check out Bello this Friday, October the 26th. The phone number here is 617-445-1061. Again, you could be a winner. Actually, where's Aja? Aja, could you? I know Cynthia was a winner. I need the name of the other winner that won this morning too. Who was the other winner? Name is on the desk. Right next to Cynthia. And while she's getting that, Dylan, yes?
I'll just say about Jamarhl Crawford, as long as we're getting personal, that I worked with him to produce the Last Poets in June, and he was incredible at pulling that together. And so he's not just out there on the political lines, he's very involved in cultural issues either. It's one of the greatest nights we've ever had in the ballroom, that night that the Last Poets were there from New York.
Yeah, I wish I was there. That was the weekend of Roxbury Homecoming in Juneteenth.
That's right.
I remember that. And it was a perfect time to have something like that also. Yeah. For real. So, Aja... All right, Aja, what's the name of the winners that we have? You got to get real close to the mic. Don't be scared. You act like you haven't done radio before.
Cynthia and Christine.
Christine, all right. So they're winners. They correctly did the phrase, the Creole phrase. And, again, we're looking for the first caller that can do the Creole phrase, which means it's not for us. 617-445-1061. Dylan? I'm going to get to some more phone calls because the phones are still ringing. All right. Thank you. 617-445-1061 is the phone number. Go ahead, caller.
Yes, sir, Brother Charles. Brother Sadiki.
Sadiki Cambone of the Black Information Center. Yes, sir, my brother.
Yes, sir, Brother Charles. Let me just say that, what I've just heard recently, I just took my grandson to school, and it's quite disturbing. And let me just first say that, I know both Jamarhl and Michael was actually on the youth committee, the Million Man March committee here in Boston, which I headed up, and I've known Jamarhl in the past. And let me just say that this whole personality thing, has to be set aside. I'll be very candid. Jamarhl hasn't spoken to me in years. We had somewhat of a father and son relationship, and I told him about some things that he didn't appreciate, and he felt we shouldn't communicate anymore. It wasn't personal for me, just moved on with doing the work. And so let me just say that in the spirit of what we need to do in the community, that folks have to set aside the whole personality thing and just do your work. If I reacted every time to some type of criticism that I got up there at the Black Community Information Center, all I'd be doing is reacting. And let me just say this, that, that there might be some folks who do not agree with this, Brother Charles, but in many respects, first of all, in terms of leadership, it's based on your work, not defining yourself as a leader. And so in many respects, there's some disappointment with those who claim to be the emerging leadership right now. Like, for instance, down there at Ferdinand, I know that Brother Aku, who is a close friend, will walk the streets to see to it that folks get employed in construction. And then at the same time, the folks who are supposed to be elected officials, it's in writing, but they have to be enforcing it from the inside and not be reacting to what's going on right now, so the job's not going on. So let me just, in terms of what I consider to be a remedy, is that in terms of the folks who are out here now, and let me just say that in terms of whether it be Tito, Ayana, Felix, Michael, whomever, is that, there's a lot of work that needs to be done out here, and that their level of work in terms of where it's at, and just my personal perspective, can be improved. Now, I got a suggestion, is that I sat down with Mukia Baker Gomez, who's a legend out here in terms of her history and her experience of working in the community. And so we worked on an arrangement now so that the leadership forum is now a component of the Black Community Information Center. So here's my strong suggestion, is that whether it be Michael or Tito, Ayana, whatever, that they approach Mukia and Robert Kinney of the leadership forum and say, look, y'all are elders here in the community. You've been there. You know how to do this. We've got some things that we need to correct, and we need your guidance.
Right.
That would be my suggestion, because of the fact that what I heard today, we don't need to be hearing that. We need brothers and sisters out here working together because of the fact that we are under attack. And if we don't have an organized, concerted effort out here in terms of what we need to do to get ourselves together by ourselves, then we're going to have more problems.
So I would agree with you, Siddiqui. Well, if I can, I was with the Honorable Mel King this weekend, and he has this concept of a village. And in a village, we go to our elders for guidance.
Exactly.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. And I applaud, I would welcome something like that. However, we need to make it happen so that we don't have paralysis by analysis, for sure.
I'm willing to play a role to make that happen. Like, I've talked to folks like, part of it's my frustration too, but I've talked to Mukia and others because, the reality, Brother Charles, is that, there's that piece out there about the generation gap. And so I bought into it several years ago and, have working with and trained a lot of young folks. But what I found is that you do have young people who want guidance, who want to do work. But then there are those out there, young folks, who feel like, you know what, we got this.
Right.
What you did back then worked then, but this is a different era. And I try to explain to them, when I went down south to college in the civil rights era, yeah, I was strong-willed and bullheaded, but there were people there who I knew when they talked, they had been there, and I was like a sponge because I wanted to learn what they knew. So for me, it's like, brothers and sisters, if you want to be out here, you've got folks who've been in this war for a long time, like Mukia, Brother Mel, Robert Kinney, and a lot of others. And ask, like I said, I'm willing to help facilitate this, that there be a meeting of the minds guided by the elders in the community. And I'm not talking about down at Darrell's Bar and Grill, which seems to be the leading spot now for community forums to discuss strategies. I'm saying meeting in a site where some serious business can go on. Folks can, verbalize what the issues are and how we can come together in the best interest of the community, and never mind all this spiteful personal stuff that I hear.
Thank you, Siddiqui Cambone.
Yes, sir.
Give out the information for the Black Information Center.
We are at Imani House at 516 Warren Street. Our number is 617-427-2522. Our website is www.blackinfonow.org. And let me just say once again that we really appreciate touch 1 FM. You got me trained here, Brother Child. I said 106 at one of my meetings, and everybody looked at me, and I corrected it very quickly. So evidently, you're getting the folks.
Well, thank you, Siddiqui Cambone, and thank you for all that you've done for our community, and thank you for being a mentor in my life.
Yes, sir. Appreciate it.
All right. It's Touch 106.1 FM, fabric of the black community, feel and hear the difference. And we had great points on both sides. Just a reminder that